Demos, 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 demos. I love me some demos. Demos here, demos there, demos frickin' everywhere. Steam has them by the truckloads, and it's time for us to dive right in. So back that truck up, Steam, and dump them all over my freckled fakes, because I just can't get enough of them demos. What's going on there, gang? Jarek Defiler, the Patient Gamer, here to present to you a quaint little list of demos. Steam demos, to be exact. Sorry for the interruption here, my friends. Turns out that some of the games I was partaking in while writing and recording this video have since had their demos removed from Steam. I guess they were a limited time deal or something, I don't know. So my apologies for the mix-up here, as I didn't realize until I had already rendered the video and then had to redo it to edit this part in. So unfortunately, BitCraft Online, Terminull Brigade, and Jumpship no longer have available demos on Steam. Weird, as I was literally just playing them this week. So it's undoubtedly my fault. I probably just misread their Steam pages or something, but I'll leave those segments in the video anyways because I still think the games are worth checking out. Hopefully the other demos won't vanish anytime soon. I'll just leave 2 sections of links in the description as well, one for the games that still have demos and another for those without. Again, apologies for the mix-up. I blame Richard Simmons and his finely toned calves. May he rest in peace. Anywho, let's get back to the video. Demos are great. They give everyone a little taste of the game, allowing us agency as customers to decide on which title is for us. And as a patient gamer, they're a great bargain because they allow you to get a feel for the game without having to invest money right off the bat. So I have no problem covering new releases in that regard, as it allows me to do some due diligence, know what I'm saying? Demos undoubtedly boost positive reviews as well, because those who most likely didn't care for the demo won't be purchasing the full game and thus reviewing it. They'll simply review the demo, right? While those that did enjoy the demo will likely get the full release of the game and review accordingly. Guess that can be a good or a bad thing, to be honest, depending on how you look at it, but demos are especially helpful to an old fart like me who simply doesn't have the time to invest in games as I did in my years prior. Having a wife and baby, and quite frankly being an older dad approaching 40, I just don't have the ability to partake in my favorite hobby anymore. Postpartum Kegel classes. I mean, gaming. Gaming. Video games, yeah! Not having to waste money in a game that I might not like is always a plus. With demos, I can test them out and generally know within a few hours if the game is for me, as I don't cover games that I don't like on this channel. Not a rule or anything, I just don't have much time to do videos, so I prefer to cover games that I want to share with my fellow gamers, as there's a lot out there, especially in the indie scene, that go under people's radar. So I thought this video I would do a fun little compilation of some demos that I've played over the last couple of months, and hopefully this will spark some interest in some of you that might not have yet heard of these titles. Because that's the whole point of making these videos, right? Informing the masses. And I don't know if Steam has changed their marketing structure or something, or if it's just more devs doing it now, but I have been seeing way more demos popping out as of late with not only newer but older titles as well, which is awesome. So that's pretty great, as that was something that I was praising in my Age of Wonders 4 video many moons ago. But yeah, I hope all devs will start putting out demos, because it makes researching games that I like to cover that much easier, if I do say so myself. Break down. Okay, let's get started. This list is not in any particular order, it's not hierarchical, although I will note which games I like the most and which ones I didn't care for them. Well, I guess I'll say like the least, because I liked them all, really. And I'll even note which ones I've purchased already, because I have. So sit back and relax, put your feet up, get a massage, and take a dip with me into the pool of Demooos, yeah. Alright, we're going to start with Battle Shapers here. This one probably took the most patience with me. I found it to be somewhat frustrating at times before I got the hang of it. Battle Shapers is a first-person shooter roguelike in the same vein of RoboQuest or Mother Gunship, both of which I enjoyed immensely. You do a run in which you clear out a room at a time, having to kill every enemy before you proceed into the next room. Nothing new here, it's like arena battler kind of thing where you just defeat all the enemies, move on to the next. Simple. However, Battle Shapers is a bit more complex than the other examples, I would say. There's some deeper underlying mechanics here that aren't so apparent on the surface. One such mechanic is chain reactions, and how certain attacks or mods will have various reactions with other mechanics. For instance, after delivering a certain amount of damage, you can get enemies down to a stun state where you gain shields if you punch them. However, if you line it up, you can create a chain reaction by punching them into other enemies, causing more explosions and subsequent reactions. I didn't figure this out until a couple hours in and multiple runs later. I'm a moron. But that's a big issue I had with Battle Shapers. There's often so much going on that you don't really have the time or the chance to see the subtle details underneath it all. There isn't really time to stop and look for these things because it's a bullet hell game and you're constantly moving and on the go, go, go. That said, the gunplay is good and the overall gameplay loop is fun and satisfying. It just could do a bit better at communicating some things to the player. There's also a few other issues that bother me with Battle Shapers, mainly the difficulty spike upon meeting the first boss. The rest of the game is easy peasy, but the first boss just wrecked me over and over at the start. It took me several tries to finally beat it. A major factor in this is the boss sends out these homing missiles that are exceptionally difficult to dodge because they can turn on a dime and still hit you. It wasn't until like 10 playthroughs that I realized like you can shoot them out of the sky before they reach you, so yeah, dummy me. Not the game's fault there, but there is a problem in that it forces you to play in a very specific style, that of having to use an automatic weapon. Otherwise, you won't have the necessary rate of fire to knock them all out of the sky. That sucks. It just forces you to use a specific weapon, so that was one annoyance. But there's also the issue of the game slowing you down at times. These bullet hell first-person shooters are very fast-paced and go kind of thing. So when you have some instances of killing the last enemy in a room or using a certain ability that pauses everything, it really takes you out of the fight and breaks the flow of things, I feel. And I love mobility in games. I love fast movement and attack speed, flying or jumping and dashing all over the place. That's my jam, you know, think Warframe, right? So when the game stops you and slows you down in the middle of the fight, it irks me, not gonna lie. This is also linked to the issue of cutscenes in the Battle Shapers demo, especially when you're doing the run over and over, which you're going to because it's a limited game. So you can skip these scenes, but often not until a few seconds after they start. So it's just annoying and again, slows the pacing of the game down quite a bit. Lastly, the Battle Shapers demo is very limited. You can only get access up to the first boss in the first zone, and that's it. It won't let you proceed, so you're just blocked off from the other two zones entirely as well. And I have to wonder, with my grievances of the first boss, what will the other bosses entail? Will they be a super pain in the ass as well? I don't know. But still, do I think the Battle Shapers demo is worth your time? Yeah, you know, despite my criticisms, I think it's looking like a fun game that's worth checking out. It just seems to have a steeper learning curve than other FPS bullet hell roguelites, so be sure you know what you're getting into. I will say that the customization options on your modifications are much more nuanced and innovative than, say, RoboQuest perks, for instance. They're more along the lines of boons and Hades, where they have drastic gameplay changes at times, right? RoboQuest had a few of these, but mostly its perks were just like percentage buffs or something like that. So yeah, Battle Shapers demo. Had a lot to say on this one, but definitely worth checking out. I'll likely wait for a sale myself personally, but right now the full release is set at $25 American on Steam. Next up, we have the We Who Are About to Die demo. But this comes with a caveat. This is a game that requires a lot of patience to learn, as the first couple hours I was on the fence on if I wanted to continue playing or not. But being that I have a soft spot for indie devs, especially those who are the sole developer, as in the case of We Who Are About to Die, I decided to keep playing and force myself to understand the mechanics. We Who Are About to Die is a physics-based gladiator arena roguelite. It's very innovative and was created and developed by just one guy, Jordi Lakieri of Belgium, or is it Lakiri? I'm sorry, I'm butchering that, I'm sure. Each run has you training, leveling up, and fighting with a gladiator of your choosing. Did I say your choosing? Well, no, that's not entirely accurate, as you are granted randomized stats on your gladiator and you can choose limited rerolls for another, or just go with the one you got. Usually their traits will be mostly positive with a few negatives, you know, give or take kind of thing. As you progress on your run, you will be able to unlock upgrades, expand your arsenal, as well as pick and choose which matches you wish to join based on the patrons that's hosting them. As you win matches with your patron, your favor will increase with them and decrease with the others, so this will grant you different bonuses depending on the patron you choose to go with. You can increase the favor of all patrons by winning tournaments or bribing them as well though, so it's not all loss. You don't just have to focus on one really. Now, the problem with the We Who Are About to Die demo is that the combat is exceptionally convoluted and just janky as hell, not gonna lie. It's all physics-based, but not the most responsive or consistent or intuitive. But that said, once you take the time to really dig in and learn it, which can take hours, at least for me, you'll find that it's not that bad and is actually fairly interesting and fun once you get the hang of things, but it ain't perfect. The problem is it takes a long time to get used to, and even then it still has some jank to it. For instance, I have several hours in the demo and the full release game, and I still don't know how to properly throw weapons or consistently block without shields. I just can't figure it out because the mechanics have it set up in a very weird way, and it's not the most responsive or consistent mechanic. It's not, I don't know, it's just weird. But yeah, spoiler alert, I guess. I bought the full game after playing the demo because I was frustrated with the combat and decided to look into the full release. Well, early access since 2022, but to me that's full release. I don't care what they claim in regard to early access. And which I discovered that a nice juicy update was let loose just on June 18th, the day after my daughter's birthday as well as my wife and my anniversary, so perhaps it was fate. But after watching the video with Jordy explaining the update, I decided to take the plunge and get the full release as it was on sale. And I must say that the full early access release is leagues superior than the demo. It's clear that the demo is very outdated at this point in time. The combat in the full release is leaps and bounds ahead of the demo. There's also a variety of other changes that improve a lot of the game overall, so although I recommend checking out the demo to see if this type of thing is your cup of tea, as it's fairly niche, don't judge the full game based on the demo because they are very different and the full early access release is far superior in a plethora of ways. That said, I still put this demo on the list because I do think it's worth checking out. Just go in with an open mind, a lot of patience, and acknowledge the fact that this game was made by one guy for the most part anyways. Not sure if he hired some people later on, but ultimately it was just him if I'm not wrong. So pretty soon I'll probably actually do a future review video on the full release because I enjoy it a great deal and it's awesome to see a game made by one dude in Belgium that just loves video games become a decent success, you know? You can definitely feel the love that went into this game. It's very much a passion project. So yeah, We Who Are About to Die demo, worth looking into, just keep in mind it's not representative of the final product. The full release will set you back $22 or $24.28 for the supporter edition. Moving on, Day of the Shell. Outside of Terminull Brigade, this is probably my favorite on this list, as I found myself having a blast with it. I pretty much 100%ed the demo, and I want to play the full release like now, right now, like totally right now. I want to buy it now, at full price, and play the shit out of it. That's saying a lot coming from a patient gamer, but the game isn't set to release until Q3 of this year of our tacos, 2025. That said, we can't say that the demo is properly representative of the final product. Still, I enjoyed the hell out of Day of the Shell. It's a tactical turn-based roguelite that takes on a fresh spin when it comes to turn-based combat. For starters, it's done in real time, if that makes sense. Meaning the game involves turns, but those turns are simply you moving or attacking. So the pacing is very well done and you don't really feel like you have to sit there waiting for all the characters to take their turns for 4 hours, you know, before you get to yours. You pretty much just set the pace of your combat yourself. And outside of that, the combat is fairly simple. You have half cover and full cover points, think XCOM or Shadowrun. Take cover, shoot enemies, easy peasy. Not much to it, but that doesn't mean it's boring in my opinion. I found myself playing over and over despite having beat the run a couple times already, as the demo is limited to a singular boss, but it's just fun. It's fairly casual, anyone can pick it up, it's not stressful, the RNG isn't frustrating, it's just an all-around chill, fun experience really, and I'm finding myself enjoying those types of games more and more in my old age. At the start of the run, you get to choose from 3 different weapons that offer different options such as more health, movement speed, or just more damage, and as you progress on your run, you get perks that enhance your attacks. All these perks relate to different damage types. You get fire, ice, and thunder. One criticism I do have is that the different damage types don't really seem to matter outside of the various cards or perks you choose that are associated with them. What I mean by that? Well, fire doesn't burn the enemy each turn or anything like that. Ice doesn't seem to slow their movement speed, and thunder doesn't, say, stun them or anything. The only difference really comes from the cards that you choose. So if you get a card that does fire damage to enemies behind cover, then that will be enhanced by your bonus fire damage. So things like that. It's fairly lackluster in that regard, and you'll probably find yourself just picking whichever perk you get first and build around that rather than trying to go a specific route. So not sure if that's going to be the same in the full release, as the demo does provide a disclaimer saying that not all features are available, so who knows. Personally, I would love to see the different elemental damage types do something unique in and of themselves. But yeah, Day of the Shell is pretty fun and I had a blast with it and got lots of hours out of it. I'm looking forward to the full release, so, you know, Q3 of this year, breakdown. Some might think it's too simple, I get that, but I enjoyed it and appreciate it for what it is. Up next, we have my least favorite demo on this list, Jump Ship. I really didn't enjoy this one, but I don't think it's a fault with the game so much, as I think the game is actually very good. However, it is not designed around a solo play experience, which is what I did. Unfortunately, I couldn't take the time to get my crew together. You know, we're all dads and moms and working folks, so getting us all online is rare and a chore in and of itself. So I went with the single player route as stated here. And this was one of the most frustrating experiences I've had in a game in quite a while. But what exactly is Jump Ship? Well, it's a FPS spacefaring action roguelite where you transition between flight and infantry mode to go through space and board ships, infiltrate enemy facilities, and scavenge wrecked ships and whatnot. Lots to do, it seems. There's a few games of this vein coming out over the last year or so and going into the future as well, yet they tend to focus on PvP, whereas Jump Ship, however, is solely PvE, which is awesome. This is what mainly caught my attention, but to really enjoy the game fully, you have to play with other people. Trying to solo more difficult missions is an extremely frustrating experience. The reason being, there are multiple factors involved in the gameplay loop. You have turrets on your ship that need to be manually manned, while someone is also flying the ship, so you can deal with the enemy ships much easier. You have a lot of loot and guns to collect, but you're limited to 4 slots of, well, anything. You can circumvent this by simply sending items to the ship's cargo bay, but a lot of times you'll be wanting to use those items as ammo is scarce, and you may find yourself needing more guns for different enemies or just needing an ammo crate, which takes up an entire slot. Then there's the missions where you have to collect cargo. These are very heavy items that you have to manually pick up and hold while you lug it back to your ship. This is a slog. And it's made all the worse by the fact that you're being hounded by enemies the entire time. Only problem is you can't shoot or anything while you're holding onto these cargo bin things, so you're just a sitting duck on your way back to the ship unless you drop it every single time an enemy pops up so you can handle them. Problem is, enemies spawn non-stop and come after you in waves. It's infuriating. I mean, take this moment where I didn't realize I had to get 3 cargo shipments back to the ship. It took me several minutes just to get this one there, and when I heard the dumb robot skank tell me I need to get a few more, well, that was when I quit and uninstalled. The game is just not feasible in solo mode unless you enjoy a hefty challenge, really. Sure, some of the more simple missions are fine solo, but when you have so many things going on, like needing to fill your ship's ammo, or repairing the core during a firefight, or collecting items under fire, it's just not an enjoyable experience in my opinion in the solo run. You have to have people around to take care of all these tasks at once, which I'm sure it's far more fun that way. However, the game is good. The mechanics are solid, the ideas behind it are awesome, the performance was okay, the graphics are great, the music is phenomenal actually. I love spacefaring sci-fi music like Stellaris and Mass Effect soundtrack, and Jump Ship is right up there with those, just really good stuff. You just have to have a group of people to play with, otherwise it's hell. You know, although it states single player on Steam, this comes with a caveat the size of Texas. If I ever get my crew together to play, I'm sure we'd all enjoy the hell out of Jump Ship. But until then, I'll pass. But that doesn't mean you might not enjoy it, so I would say it's worth checking out for sure. Just know what you're getting into. Highly recommend going into it with friends. Jump Ship is set to release sometime this year. Up next, we have a game that I honestly was not expecting to enjoy as much as I did. BitCraft Online. I played a little bit of the, I don't know if you'd call it a closed beta or whatever, but then they came out with a demo that had more features. This is a crafting MMORPG sandbox game, and I must stress the craft in BitCraft. This is virtually the entire game, as far as the demo is concerned anyways. You craft to unlock other stuff to craft. Very big crafting pool. And for some reason it just clicked with me. It's very chill and relaxing. The combat is pretty tame and lame because it's not really the main draw here. You're only doing what minuscule combat there is just so you can get certain items from your target to further upgrade your crafting. I found myself really enjoying it for the most part though. Not the combat, just the game and crafting in general. It's a very fun, just sit back and relax kind of game, you know, very chill. That said, it has its issues. The performance is absolute ass. Often drop into single digits when entering a town hub where there's tons of other players. Lots of pop-in and lag/latency issues with desyncs. And on a side note, the game just released in early access on the 21st of June, and they're charging $30 for it. From what I understand, the game will be free to play on full release, so not sure how that's going to work out. Hopefully those in early access will be able to keep their progress or get some bonuses or something, I don't know. Either way, despite its flaws, the demo is still something worth checking out. I'd say if you're in the mood for a nice, chill, grindy crafting experience, just, you know, be patient with the performance, I guess. They got to work on that. Escape the Mad Empire is another demo on here that I thoroughly enjoyed. It's a pixel graphic dungeon delving CRPG roguelite that uses pausing as a main mechanic in combat. It's really interesting. You pause, cue your abilities, and then unpause to let the combat unfold. Nothing new, I guess, but, you know, new to me, I guess. You head deeper into the dungeon, looting all manner of goodies while fighting all manner of baddies. You know, pretty fun stuff. You can also develop your hub as well with new mechanics that can do a variety of things, like forge weapons, summon new party members, and cleanse your current party members of stacking debuffs, among other things. This is a fairly unique title that has a lot of innovation, but It's not without some clunkiness, as the controls and inventory management, among other things, take some getting used to. Still a great demo with lots of content as far as I'm concerned. So check out the video I did on it if you want to know more details. Escape the Mad Empire Early Access release is currently going for $18 on Steam. Terminull Brigade is probably my favorite on this list, as I played the closed beta a while back and actually did a video on that if you want a more in-depth analysis. Either way, Terminull Brigade is a joyous romp with excellent combat, cool mechanics, and an extremely satisfying gameplay loop. The demo is fairly limited compared to the closed beta, so you're not going to be able to play all the characters like I did, but believe me when I say the game was loads of fun. This is a third-person hero shooter roguelite where you clear waves of enemies on a room-by-room basis, progressing through varying arenas until you meet various bosses. Repeat until you get to a final boss, and that's that, very much like RoboQuest as well in that regard. Each character has their own unique playstyle and mechanics that mix things up a great deal. Just like Hades, you get certain types of patrons, I guess you can say, that grant you perks with a specific theme. So as you build your run, you have some really cool and unique gameplay variations each time in true roguelite fashion. Only worry I have is I'm not sure what their monetization practice will be. I don't think they're going to charge for heroes, as in the demo it states they'll all be available upon full release. Now, this is a single player and co-op game, but it does have multiple currencies, which tells me there are going to be some microtransactions. I hope it's just cosmetics, but the game, if the game is free, I have no problem buying cosmetics in a game to support the devs. But yeah, I have no idea. We'll see. I hope it's not anything too egregious. You never know these days. Lastly, we have the demo for Lost in Prayer. The marketing director for 9 Dot Studio actually reached out to me last year to check out the closed playtest they set up for some people. They noted that they saw my video on Tales of Magio and that gave them a huge inspiration for their title here. Unfortunately, I saw the email too late because Google randomly logs me out of some of my emails, and despite still showing that I'm logged in on the browser tab, it actually isn't, and therefore I am not notified of new emails. Annoying, because I would have really liked to check the game out earlier. As it is now, the demo will have to suffice, and suffice it does, ladies and gentlemen. I put quite a few hours into it, and it's loads of fun, something that really tickles my fancy anyways. This is a fairly unique turn-based strategy roguelite that has some of my favorite themes: heaven and hell, angels and demons, that sort of thing. You find yourself a lost soul in purgatory, needing to fight your way out of it either through heaven or hell. That's right, each run you can choose if you want to fight the forces of evil or the forces of goody two-shoes. Combat consists of you moving or using an ability each turn, with the enemy doing likewise. The unique mechanic of Lost in Prayer is that whenever you are killed by an enemy, which happens a lot, you basically possess them or take over their body or control their body or copy their body or something, and that allows you to add that enemy type to your character pool so you can use them on future runs. And there's a bunch. There's a lot of characters to get here, and best part is each one has their own skill trees and varying stats that allow for all kinds of cool builds. It's awesome, and quite frankly what captivates me the most, as I want to try them all, but in the demo I believe you're limited on how many you can get naturally. Now, I'm not going to lie here. Upon first glance, I was a bit skeptical of Lost in Prayer. The game is obviously a lower budget indie title, no shame there, as some of my favorite releases in the past couple of years are, but the combat looked like kind of clunky, and the skill trees and stats all looked rather linear and boring. But I am happy to say that I was wrong. It's not boring or clunky in the slightest once you get the hang of things. The stats are a bit one-dimensional, but the thing is you have so many of them that your build options are through the roof. I've done heavy defense builds, dodge builds, and my personal favorite, ultra high crit range evil plant build, which basically was a glass cannon sort of thing and tons of fun. The equipment gave me a similar feeling. At first it seemed boring, just stat sticks and armors, but there are passive variations that can be some hefty game changers if you build around them. For instance, my defense build on my Seraphim dude had him block tons of debuffs with his armor, which allowed me to better handle the super annoying bishop skanks that just crap debuff on you every single turn. And there's other items like these ones that will allow you to move a certain amount of tiles and lay some bombs down when you do, which is pretty awesome. Lots of different items with different bonuses, but given this is just a demo, I'm not sure how large the initial item pool will be on full release, as I was seeing a lot of the same ones throughout my playthroughs. Multiple playthroughs, I should say. But I would occasionally discover new ones here and there, so I'm sure there's a good amount. I just didn't get that far on either run because the game is fairly challenging, but in a good way. Strategy is a must in Lost in Prayer. You can't just go in each battle guns a-blazing. You have to think every single time. You have to think every single battle. You have to think every single turn. And being a moron myself, I found my screen showcasing the game's character selection menu more than anything else. But as I started to learn things, it began to click, and like any good roguelite, you progress more and more with each run. Cool beans. So I for sure will be checking out the full release, as I think it is something I will enjoy immensely, as I definitely enjoyed the demo. And on a side note, I really hope they sell the soundtrack on Steam for Lost in Prayer because it's phenomenal. It's available on Bandcamp though, where I bought it, so check it out, if you're a video game soundtrack buff like yours truly. This one is composed by Quebec City's own Triptyque Audio, if I'm saying that correctly. Same dudes that did the audio for one of the Baldur's Gate 3 trailers, among other things. Really cool stuff. Lost in Prayer soundtrack is like a mix between old school Deus Ex and Shadowrun Dragonfall, Same vibes that I just adore. Really good stuff. But yeah, overall, I really dig Lost in Prayer's demo. I hope the full release does it justice. The game will be out on early access on July 15th of this year. Breakdown. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. A couple of demos that gave me some intrigue over the last few weeks and months, really. Give them a look-see if they're your cup of tea, and hopefully you'll find something new that you'll get some enjoyment out of. I know I did. And let me know in the comments if you guys are interested in more of these demo videos, because I think they can be helpful, and if you guys find them to be useful, I may do more, as I have quite a few demos on my backlog. Anyways, thanks for watching my humble little video. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe if you'd be so kind. This has been Jarek Defiler, taking a glimpse into some awesome Demooos. China. You all have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you are, and go get demoed.